Speaking of Jamaal Bowman, Jen, I don't know if you saw this, but Erin Burnett interviewed him last night. This was painful. This was painful. So Jamaal Bowman, and I said this the other day. Hey, Jen, do you think if Eliot Engel on election night was up 26 points, CNN would be careful and not declare victory?
Of course not. They would have been having a party with bazookas.
Okay, so let's watch, courtesy of, I think, Case Study, who watches CNN and MSNBC all day and cuts clips, so we don't have to. Let's watch Erin Burnett's interview with Jamaal Bowman. See if you see any patterns here.
Tell me why. The year, one of the top Democrats in Congress may be on the verge of losing his seat after a primary. Eliot Engel from New York, the chair of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, currently trailing progressive challenger Jamaal Bowman 61% to 34%. He's down nearly 12,000 votes, and that's before absentee ballots. It's clearly an ominous sign for Engel. He has been in Congress since 1989. Chair of a committee, this is obviously a very, very major upset as these numbers come in, if this is what happens. Jamaal Bowman is now out front, and I appreciate your time. Jamaal, you've declared victory in an email to supporters. Obviously, as I said, because of those absentee ballots, we haven't yet formally projected a winner because there's so many absentee ballots. But you're very confident that you've won. Tell me why.
Well, the voters have spoken, and they've spoken throughout the district. When you look at our district, it's broken up between the Northeast Bronx and Lower Westchester County. And right now we're winning the North Bronx, by 29 points, and we're winning Westchester County about 23 to 25 points. So we're doing very well, and there's no statistical reason to believe that the mail-in ballot count is going to be much different than what we're already seeing.
And you fought hard, and you know, if you're the winner here, this is not the way a lot of people thought it was going to go. To state the obvious, Governor Cuomo endorsed Congressman Engel, Senate Majority Leader Schumer endorsed him, the House Speaker Pelosi endorsed him, Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, the current chair of the House Democratic Caucus, senior member of the Congressional Black Caucus. What do you say to them tonight?
Well, you know, again, the people have spoken. You know, we worked really hard from the very beginning of the campaign to build deep, authentic relationships with people across the district, across race, across class, across religion, across age, again, from Co-op City to Eden Wall to Rye, New York. So we did that work very urgently in the very beginning. We had hundreds of volunteers working with our campaign, knocking doors, leafletting, making phone calls. So those relationships matter, and we've always felt confident.
I find this interesting because a cable news segment, you're lucky if you get 5 minutes. She spends 2 minutes basically making it seem like, are you sure you won? You're only up by 25 points. Why should, you know, what makes you think you actually won? Like, it's pretty much a mathematical impossibility. The absentee ballots are going to turn it completely around. And we have seen them literally call races. Bernie Sanders is down by 1/10 of a point in Iowa. It's over. Bernie Sanders down 1/10 of a point. It's over. Progressives down. We've seen enough. We're calling it. I mean, it's just showing you that the media sways elections. I mean, they called it for Joe Biden in Texas when there were still people waiting in line for hours and hours and hours. It's showing you they will not do the same if it's a corporate candidate on the losing end.
They absolutely won't. And, you know, we've seen this over and over again where, you know, back when Bernie was still in the race, the hesitation to declare anything for Bernie or to declare anything for any progressive out-of-the-box candidate is really there. It's really present. It's there before the election, it's there after the election or the primary. So the fact that, like you say, like Erin Burnett took up the majority or almost the majority of that interview with hesitation, like, are you sure about this? Are you sure that this is a win for you or a positive thing for you? And she just can't handle the possibility that the people have spoken differently than the establishment has spoken.
Let's play a little bit more because it gets better.
marches and the protests, which also have defined so much of this race. You have joined those calling to defund the police. So I wanted to play for you part of a conversation I had with a Democratic congressman and House Majority Whip Jim Clyburn. He wants police reform, but here's what he told me about how he views the defund movement. Here he is.
History is instructive. I was there along with John Lewis back in the 60s and the early 70s. We saw how our movement got hijacked. We did a lot back then that led to where we are today. We would have done even more if we had not got overtaken by sloganary, burn, baby, burn, that took off in this country. Be careful that we don't get hijacked this time like we got the last time.
What do you think when you hear his thoughts?
Well, defunding the police is about a reallocation of resources. It's about a demilitarization of the police and investing in public health, investing in housing, investing in jobs, investing in education and healthcare and environmental justice, investing in mental health supports. 50% of those killed by the police suffer from some mental or physical disability. What that means is we need to take a different approach, not a lethal approach. Defunding the police also means the end of sending military equipment to local police forces that they then use on people within the community. So it's not defunding as a rallying cry, but what it means is it's a reallocation of resources toward public health and other areas that we've neglected for quite some time.
So it sounds like what you're saying is you understand his point. Sometimes words can come to mean something to people that may not actually be what you're saying. I mean, you're saying reallocate. You're not saying you don't want police, I'm presuming, right? You're not saying you don't want police providing safety. You want them to be trained differently and behave differently. Going away?
Well, there's a role for police, but I push back on the notion that, police and safety have to go hand in hand. When we talk about safety, the number one thing that makes me safe and secure is making sure that I have food security, housing security.
Yes. Well, I appreciate your time and explaining it. And thank you.
See how fast she rapped when he started talking about food security and housing security? It was quite the thing. First of all, I like that Jamaal Bowman doesn't start with the pleasantry as well. I respect Clyburn, blah, 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 blah. I don't respect Clyburn. Sorry. He's corrupt. Look at his donor sheet. He accepts a whole lot of money from Big Pharma. I know he's, black and respected in South Carolina. That's wonderful. Maybe he was more pure back in the day for progressive causes, but he's the one who, really put forward Biden. And frankly, Biden has done more to damage his community than most other politicians. So I like that Bowman isn't starting out with the kissing ass to the establishment. I mean, it's still early, so he could get there, but right now he's not. The other thing is, again, Erin Burnett spends 2 minutes basically, disbelieving just math. And then as soon as he mentions, the point, we need to take money from the police and give it for food security, housing security, these kind of things, she just wraps the interview. What more can you say? Clearly, they're not interested in actually understanding why these types of candidates are catching on.
What I was saying is Erin Burnett spent so much time trying to catch Jamaal Bowman and making sure his surge didn't seem like trying to downplay his surge. And then she spent the rest of the time trying to catch him in not understanding what his own movement is about. And Jamaal Bowman knows exactly what this movement is about because he's been on the front lines out there on the streets with the people, often putting his body in between police officers who were not always nonviolent, putting his body out there in the front, negotiating, making sure that people's voices were heard while being present, while being eyes on the ground, eyes and ears and camera. He would be filming. He seems to be a person who walks the talk. He does what he's talking about. So for Erin Burnett to try to catch him in a lie or to back him in a corner and saying, okay, defund the police doesn't actually mean XYZ. Defund the police actually means this. Let me play Clyburn for you so I can back you into a corner here. But Jamaal Bowman, he's good at what he does, but he's a man of the people. And he has truly been out there in a way that most politicians are not. He again put his body on the line, and that was disgusting what Erin Burnett did. That interview I had not seen. You can tell that these people have such a contempt for realness. They have such a contempt for progressivism and for any voice that actually speaks for the public.
Indeed, I agree. Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.